Hi, this is Miss Morse, and I'll be coordinating costumes for this year's spring musical, Bye Bye Birdie. Like last year, we're asking cast members to take primary responsibility for determining what you'll be wearing in the show. The purpose of this short video is meant to give you some background information on the setting and also to give you some important guidelines for choosing costume pieces that will be appropriate for the production. To facilitate communication between cast members and the costume committee, we're asking that you visit the Moodle. There you'll download and complete a costume plan assignment sheet. When you're finished, you'll upload that assignment to the Moodle. And finally, we ask that you bring your costume pieces to costume checks and rehearsals as you're directed. Here's an example of the costume plan assignment that we're asking you to complete. You'll find that you have two options. Option 1, you'll download this Word document and then type your plans right into it. Be sure to include any information you think is important about colors that you want to wear, patterns that may be in the fabrics, or even the fabrics themselves. Or option 2, you can take pictures and then copy and paste them into this document, or any combination of the two that you prefer. Please be sure that you've completed this assignment and uploaded it to the Moodle by Monday, December 3rd. Our story takes place during the 1950s, and here you see a picture of Elvis Presley and his adoring fans. When you think about the 1950s, I'm sure that Elvis Presley probably comes right to mind. When you think of female fashion icons, you may think of Elizabeth Taylor or perhaps Marilyn Monroe and the halter dress that she made so popular. It's important to note that their style was very Hollywood and not at all representative of what we should see in our show. Here are some vintage ads that give you an idea of some popular items of apparel for adult women at the time. This is representative of the house dress. As you can see, it has a full skirt, and this gives you some ideas of the colors and patterns that you would have seen, and a couple of different varieties of the look. Here we see several styles of a button-down blouse paired with a skirt. Skirts could be worn either very full or slim and form-fitting to the body without being inappropriately tight. They were often paired with belts, either very wide or very narrow, not in between, and definitely called attention to a cinched-in waist. Take a look at the hair. You'll notice that it's either swept back into some sort of an updo, or if it's worn loose, it's definitely well above the shoulders. You'll note that these ladies have a little bit of a more formal look to them. They're all wearing suits or dresses, it seems, that are a little more form-fitting. They have on gloves. If they were going to be out and about, they would probably also be wearing a hat. Here are a few examples of modern dresses that I found in ads that are very reminiscent of the line, the shape, the fabric, the color, the pattern that you might have seen in a 1950s dress. Let's talk shoes. Here's a vintage ad of some pumps that were popular at the time. And here we get a more up-close and personal view. You'll see that they're very wide across the bottom. They have a nice stable pump. Often they had straps, sometimes they didn't. They were very decorative and often two-toned in contrasting colors. And here's an example of what we call character shoes. These are great because they're neutral shoes that'll go with anything. They're really secure to the feet and they're easy to balance on, very easy to wear on stage. And here's the sassy version of that shoe, a pump with a kitten heel. And we don't want to see any of these on stage for obvious reasons. Just for fun, I included a picture here of Rosie in her professional dress and Mrs. McAfee in her housewife attire. Both of these photos are from the 2009 revival on Broadway. All right, we've covered the adults, now let's talk teenagers. Here we see some young girls wearing some Peter Pan collar blouses paired with cardigan sweaters, full circle skirts, looking very sweet. Take a look at the hair. If it's worn loose, then it's in big curls that are worn well above the shoulder, or of course that high ponytail. Here's an example of a choice that you have. It's in a small print of a polka dot, kind of a peasant top little blouse with a full skirt attached, and a nice wide belt that's drawing attention to a cinched-in waist. Here are a few more dresses to take a look at. They're both sleeveless, but they absolutely work. You see again they draw attention to a cinched-in waist with a fuller bottom. On the left a Peter Pan collar, and on the right a boat neck collar. And here again we see that boat neck collar on the left, but this time it's paired with a dress that is a little more form-fitting. Both dresses, as you can see, definitely have a cinched-in waist, but the belt is much more narrow. A few more examples to take a look at. one with sleeves, and then on the right you have a dress that actually doesn't have sleeves at all, just straps. In this case, we would like to see this worn with some sort of a little cardigan sweater on top. Here are some modern pictures I wanted you to take a look at. On the left you see a full circle skirt paired up with a short sleeve little sweater. This would be a perfect look for us. And on the right you see an example of a little dress. These kinds of little sundresses were very popular over the past couple of years, so you may have one at home in your closet, but it has those spaghetti straps. So if you don't have full sleeves on your dress, you can pair this up with a cardigan sweater and it'd be just perfect. Here's an example of a shirtwaist dress. These also became very popular a couple of years ago, so you might have one of these at home in your closet. But here's where it all goes wrong. The modern version that you see in the center here is way too short. We need to make sure that all of your skirts and dresses fall below the knee for sure. They should actually fall to about the length of your mid-calf. Speaking of what not to wear, we don't want to look costumey. We want you to look like traditional, sweet, conservative, clean-cut, Sweet Apple, Ohio teenagers. These are straight from the costume shop. Not everybody needs a poodle on their dress. And here we see a few more examples of what not to wear. On the left, although the color looks great, the pattern is great, you see that the neckline dips way too low. It does draw attention to the waist, but that halter top is just not what we're looking for. And on the right you see a dress that's the same sort of style and it's made of satin. We're going to avoid those materials and stick with more of the traditional cotton prints and patterns and fabrics that we've seen in the examples before now. And here we see two beautiful vintage dresses with just beautiful fabrics, but they are strapless and they are a little more formal than what we are looking for on stage. The only person who would have an opportunity to wear a really fancy dress like this might be Kim when she goes for her final last kiss on the Ed Sullivan Show. If you'd like for your character to be a little more on the casual side or a little bit tomboyish, then you're in luck. Because girls in the 50s were finally allowed to wear pants, and the most popular style was the pedal pusher. Now, pedal pusher, P-E-D-A-L, is a kind of pant that became really popular when bicycles became a popular way to travel around your neighborhood for both boys and girls. Here are a few vintage examples that I found for you to take a look at. Note the style, the color, the pattern. They are pretty bright. You probably don't have any pants at home that look like this, but if you do, pull them out. This is your one opportunity to get to wear them. Here's a modern day take on the pedal pusher. We call them capris, and you see two great looks here in neutral colors. So you could pair these with a top that's in a nice plaid or polka dot pattern, something that's really fun and cute that would really look great on stage. Please note that these fit like pants, not leggings. Also, these capris were typically worn with a ballet flat or perhaps a loafer style shoe, definitely not heels. This picture calls attention to the kinds of colors that we want to see our teenagers dressed in. During the 1950s, pastels were extremely popular, but we don't really want to be too subtle or true to that idea because it's just not going to come off on stage. Rather, instead, if you take a look at this picture from the revival, you see that they've amped up the colors and they're very vibrant. So we would love for you to try to find some things in these shades. Let's talk shoes for teenagers. Here you see some great choices. Ballet type flats that have different sorts of colors and patterns, some nice ornamentation with bows or buckles, and saddle shoes. Saddle shoes and flats could be worn with everything you had, from dresses to pedal pushers. Loafers were also a popular choice at the time, and here we see some in bright colors as well as neutrals, and also some in two tones. And finally, some examples of sandals that would have been popular at the time. You see some little wedge shoes, very strappy, bright colors, contrasting colors, trim. With all of this information, I bet you're ready to start shopping. We're going to have some resources posted on the Moodle for you as well. Don't forget to have your plan uploaded by Monday, December 3rd. And please email if you have any questions. I'd be happy to help. Thanks so much.
Take off the gloomy mask of tragedy, it's not your style. You look so good that you'll be glad you decided to smile. Pick out a pleasant outlook